Hello, sippers, and welcome back to another episode of Leader Sips, where we grow in our leadership with tips while we sip. I am so excited to introduce you to Steven Puri, a leader with more than 20 years of leading teams, mostly remote, even though he worked in Hollywood as an EVP at DreamWorks, a VP at 20th Century Fox, and a three-time tech CEO. He shares so much good wisdom about leading remote teams, and he was leading them before it was cool, and then oddly uncool, which we don't get. We share a passion for how to lead globally and with intention, and you don't have to physically be in the same room to always do it and be a good leader. But most importantly, and you got to stick around for this, he answers the age-old, highly controversial question, is Die Hard a Christmas movie? All right, so sit back and you'll definitely say yippee-ki-yay for this episode of Leader Sips. All right. Hey, Leader Sippers. We're back with another episode of Leader Sips, and I am so thrilled to have with me here today Steven Puri. He is a 20-plus year veteran executive of DreamWorks and 20th Century Fox, and also a 3 times tech CEO, raising his own venture for 3 successful startups. He's been a producer on films, the Christmas movie, Die Hard, just kidding, to the Wolverine.
Had to work that in there.
I had to work it in. I know it's a big controversy, like, is that really a Christmas movie or not a Christmas movie?
Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, can we?
Pause right there.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
will
would
tell you
love
this.
it.
When people know about my film career, it is one of the number one questions when Die Hard comes up. They're like, so tell me, is it a Christmas movie? And I will give you and your listening audience at home or in the car, wherever they are, the best answer that I can give.
Okay, wait, I gotta have a drum roll or something.
Okay.
All right,
I know. I wish I had a canned drum roll.
I know.
So
Yeah.
here's the thing. In a great story, doesn't have to be film. The bones of it, the fundamentals are you have some sort of heroic force, which may be embodied in a man, a woman, a people, a toy, you have an opposing force and you are on the edge of your seat to know, is the heroic force going to overcome its fundamental internal flaw and win the movie, win the story, win the whatever short film? Or are they going to fall victim to their flaw and it becomes a Greek tragedy, right? So that is the bones of this. So when you think about Die Hard, there is absolutely a reason where if you're a studio executive today in the 2020s, you still have writers who come and sit on your sofa and pitch you in your office with the shorthand of, okay, so it's basically Die Hard with a female hero, right? It's all saying the story structure of Die Hard is so good. It is the prototype of this kind of contained action thriller, right? So that is a way of just saying your hat is off. Like that movie is crafted, it is tight, it is lean, and it delivers, right? If you ever watch Taken, Taken is the exact same movie, right? So here's the thing about Die Hard. If you and I were sitting around crafting this, we would go, okay, so the guy, his wife and the thing, and he goes to LA, right? Now, it's funny, great writing sometimes is very obvious because it's hidden in such drama and conflict that you don't realize that they're telling you what's going on. So in the movie, do you remember early on, Argyle comes and picks him up at the airport, right? Argyle's the black little limo driver. And he's like, it's my first day as a, chauffeur, how's this work? So they get in the car and Bruce notably sits in the front with the limo driver. He doesn't sit, he puts the teddy bear in the back, right? Which is their way of emphasizing he sees himself as the worker. He's not the guy who should be in the back of a limo. He's not some rich billionaire. He sees himself up there. And they have a little fight in the cockpit, if you will, of the limo, where Argyle's like, hey man, it's my first day. So what are you doing here? And Bruce is like, screw off. I'm not gonna talk to you. Come on, man, why are you here? Give me something. He's like, I'm not gonna talk to you. And then finally he bugs him enough and Bruce goes, here's the deal. I'm a beat cop. I run around the streets. I shoot, I jump, I kick. And my wife came to LA. She's working for this big, fancy Japanese company. And Argyle says to him, the movie, Argyle turns to him and he goes, okay, let me get this straight. So your wife left you and you came out here like a caveman to throw her over your shoulder and basically bring her back to New York. And Bruce looks at him and goes, yeah, kind of like that, right? So it's amazing. They lay out for you, this is exactly the spine of the movie we're going to tell you. And there's distraction and fun and bombs and guns and blah, blah, blah. But this is what it is. It is the story that was very plugged into the culture at that time of the fear that families were changing. Women were suddenly making more money than men. Families had kids who were latchkey kids because both parents were like, it was an evolution from like the 1950s, and Leave It to Beaver. And that spoke to that era, the zeitgeist, right? So here's the answer to your question. With all that set up, here's the answer to your question. Bruce in the movie wants to reunite his family. And he recognizes in a painful way what he has to do. If you ever notice, he loses the movie until he's in the elevator and he thinks he might die. And he goes, listen, if I don't make it out, tell my wife I loved her. And the movie hinges around that moment because he starts to win it and he gets his family back. And what is the end of the movie? It's exactly what Argyle said. Bruce walks out of the building burning with his wife like a caveman, slung over his shoulder, and saves her, and they're reunited. When are families reunited? When are they together? At the holidays. It is the perfect time of year to do a movie about a family coming back together.
Oh my gosh. We heard it here. You completely blew up every controversy out there now, Steven. Now we know it is a holiday movie. No,
live and in color.
Well, I love it though. It's like, haha, I got the exclusive. I hope.
Right.
I don't know.
And people at home are like, so we're going to talk about movies on this? Or are we talking about flow states?
No, this is fun. Well, and it speaks to your storytelling, right? And actually, I mean, him getting in the front seat of the car, I was like, wow, that's leadership too, right? It's like, oh, I'm not sitting in the back seat and having.
I will tell you.
Yeah. Anyway,
if you ever deconstruct that movie, it is this good. It comes off as populist entertainment, but the reason it stands up is you could pause on any shot in the movie, and McTiernan has it there for a reason. The writers of McTiernan, what's the first shot of the movie? You probably don't remember, but I do because I've seen it a million times.
Yeah.
It is a shot of a man's hand, left hand, with a wedding ring, clutching the arm of a airplane seat. If you were not to watch another shot after that, you would say, well, what do I know from this shot? I know there's a married man who's flying on an airplane and he's scared. He's clearly clutching that thing. He doesn't want to be on this airplane. Therefore, there's some really compelling reason why a married man who hates to fly is flying. That's all in one shot. And it tells you the story of the movie. Bruce is not an airplane guy. He's not I'm on a Gulfstream 4. I'm on a G650. He is a guy who runs around the streets. And that continually, you could pause. When he has to get off the plane, he married guys confronted with hot girl in the aisle. And you sort of wonder, in a different movie, he kind of like looks at hot girl's ass and checks her out. And here they repeatedly put him in places where he has to demonstrate his character. Why is he here? And he turns away and turns away and turns away and doesn't do it. But what does he do in the opening sequence? He goes to the conveyor belt to find his baggage and claim what is his. What's the movie about? He's there to claim his wife, which is his. He's there to claim his family.
Amazing.
And that movie works. You can go through it with a fine-tooth comb, and you will find so many things that reinforce the central idea of he is in conflict with the world out here. He's the fish out of water. He goes to a high-tech building with a computerized screen to try and find his wife, and he's not a computer guy. They don't have him walk into an office building and a woman greets him and goes, oh yeah, Jenny's on the third floor. Bonnie Bedelia is right over here. No, he walks in and it looks like a military fortress with cameras watching him, high-tech gates, a computerized directory, and they just reinforce. Do you get it? This is really hard for him. He must want this a lot. And he's a street cop. And where do they put his wife? The top of a tall building. Not a coincidence. Anyway, back to you in the studio.
No, it's so good. Okay, now I really have to go watch that movie again because it has been a while since I've seen
It's a great
it.
movie. It's incredibly well done.
I remember
Yeah.
loving it.
Yeah.
I think it is funny that a lot of people I know are like, it's Christmas time, Die Hard, right? But now I have a new appreciation for that around the
Yeah.
holiday time.
And you'll see
So
all these threads develop
I
through.
love it.
It's like a fine piece of like classical, music where you just
Yeah,
hear the themes come back and get developed and back and developed. And it's like, it's beautiful.
that's
Okay. So
amazing.
yeah,
No, it's
there's that.
awesome. I love it. Thank you, Steven. I
Okay.
mean,
Well, thank you for having me today. It's been wonderful to be
that's all we
here.
needed to do. That's all the time we have for, you know.
Exactly.
I mean, it is leader sip, and we did that in a sip, so we're done here now.
Yeah, there we go. I'm sipping my little protein shake.
Oh, you're so
It's a good
good.
morning.
Got my coffee, got my little Hong Kong mug here. But actually, you really hit on something that I want to kind of continue to pull that thread on. I mean, your background obviously in Hollywood is incredible, and then of course tech and Hollywood. So you've had this background, but you mentioned something about this heart of storytelling and
Mhm.
how I feel, and this is me, I feel like sometimes, man, is there anything new under the sun? Like, where's the creativity gone? Why are people struggling to be creative and
Mhm.
innovative? And it's like, okay, let's just do sequels to everything. Let's do a reboot to everything. So, I mean, but
We
I
do a
feel like,
prequel to the sequel?
yes,
Is that a thing
yes.
yet?
And then it's exhausting, right? And then you look at the box office numbers, you're like, yeah, people, they don't want it. Like, what's happening out there? But I feel like this all kind of goes into a lot of what you do from a productivity perspective and helping people find their flow. But where has creativity gone? Why is that? Or is it just me from my point of view in the world that I
Do you
feel
work for
like
a
it's not?
large media conglomerate by any chance?
What? I don't know
Who,
what you're talking
where? Right?
about.
What have you been reading, Stephen?
Yes. What are you
Uh,
talking about? Yeah.
Before we dive in, there is one thing I want to clarify, just so the record is completely correct, which is yes, I've been a senior executive at DreamWorks, Fox, and stuff like that, and yes, I've raised like $20+ million of venture. I had one successful exit, which was awesome, and I had two failures. So I've run three
Mhm.
companies, and definitely learned a lot from all three. But I want to be clear, it wasn't three successes; it was a success where I, thought, oh, I'm, as one does in their 20s, we had a 6x multiple return. Our investors were happy, everyone's happy, and you
Mhm.
think you're smart, you think you're better looking than you are, right? And then later in life, you're like, oh, that was a lot of luck. And I learned more from the two companies that didn't work, but for which I'd raised about 3 million for each. So that's from whence I speak, is both success and failure. And I want to be super upfront about that. It is not like I'm smarter than anyone. I've been very fortunate. I've worked very hard. Uh,
Oh, I appreciate that. And that to me is such a critical crux of leadership is failure and knowing how to fail forward, how to chase failure, in fact, to learn more and grow more. So thank you for that.
yeah,
Thank
and
you for
accept
that.
failure in your team. Like if you are
Yeah.
asking your team to do great things, you have to understand that some of that will be failure.
Hmm.
You're going to say, hey, could you do the thing this week that moves our company forward, that adds rocket fuel to our marketing campaign? Some of the ideas are going to be shit, but you
Hmm.
have to accept those because somewhere in that list, there's the one idea where you go, that we should do
Yeah.
that one. Right.
Yeah.
And more accepting, like, oh, this is something to draw up on Hollywood for a moment. This is something that I first saw when I was at DreamWorks. And I'm going to not give the details of the thing we were talking about, but it was my first meeting in coming to DreamWorks where I was in Steven's conference room. And it's like Steven and Stacy, who are running the studio, the president of DreamWorks, the vice president on this project, the writers, myself, two other producers. And I thought to myself, wow, like here I am in my early 30s at the time. And I'm sitting in Steven Spielberg's conference room with all the Southwestern
Wow.
Adobe, and I
So
was,
cool. Yeah.
as much as I'm like, I've worked really hard to get in this room and we're talking about this thing, there's a little bit of like, oh my God, I'm in Steven Spielberg's conference room having a story meeting. And the thing I want to say is this, is I noticed this here and then I saw it again, which is there was an idea, and I'm going to falsify the details just to be respectful to Steven, I'm in the room, where let us say we're working on an alien movie, which Steven has a lot of experience on alien movies and developing stories around that sort of thing. And there was the alien's weakness should be X. Let's say it is water or something, right? And Steven sort of says, oh, I think, the alien comes through the wall and there's water. And someone who shall be called, like, say, the coffee boy coming through the room threw in an idea and said, well, I feel like we just saw the alien coming through the wall and the water thing and this other thing. What if it were this other thing? And
Wow.
inside, I sort of clenched up like, oh my God, he's about to be fired. And that'll be the last we see Coffee Boy. He's going to be walked out. And Steven, without missing a beat, was like, yeah, that's better. We should do that. And the conversation just moved forward. And I was like,
Wow.
oh, so that's what it's like when you're confident. It's you're good
Mm.
with best idea wins, not my idea wins.
Oh my gosh. Love that so
And I
much.
saw that with some directors and writers at that level. And what I noticed was the mediocre tier, that strata of, they are the ones that are very possessive. They're much like, I have to defend my idea because that has to be how it is. And it was just that thing of like, oh yeah, that's better. We should do that. Move on. I was like,
Amazing.
what just happened? Because I'd seen a lot
Right?
of mediocrity in other story meetings, right? And saw the same thing with Ron Howard. Saw the same thing with a couple, like David Ayer, amazing writer who became a director and all that. There was that sense of like, hey man, like best idea wins. Like let's make something great. Let's not make my thing, because it's mine.
Yes.
So
Uh,
as a leader, I think there is that sense of like, if you truly want greatness, your job is to create the conditions for greatness, not enforce your greatness on others.
I
And
mean,
you shouldn't be
yeah.
a leader. You should be an individual contributor and just like keep throwing your ideas in.
Can I put that on a mug or a t-shirt and wear it every day, everywhere?
I was
I
I
mean,
was thinking
I
more of
mean,
a back tattoo, if that's cool.
oh, all right. Yeah, sure. Tramp stamp.
Why
Sure.
not?
Back
Just sort
tattoo.
of bold statement in the summer. You're like, I'm at the beach. Guess what, boys? This is what I think.
I love it. No, truly, it's so funny because actually a mentor of mine who is still in my company, a senior mentor, but she taught me very early on too. It's like it's not about as a leader, it's not about having the best idea. It's about recognizing the best idea. And
Beautifully put. You
exactly.
see, more succinct than I am. That was
No, no,
awesome.
yours was beautiful. And what it was reinforcing too, and I really appreciate your examples, is that is then where I think creativity can be stifled, where if we get out of flow and innovation, where people feel like, oh no, I can't, I'm the coffee boy, or I'm the, low man on the totem pole kind of person. I can't possibly like pitch an idea up. But it's up to leaders to create that environment. And when you don't have that environment, then they're just recycling the same old ideas over and over again, or
It's true.
it's an echo chamber, and then they're just talking to themselves and not
And
reaching out. So
you know what? Speaking of this, that is tangentially related to something that's very topical that I'd love to work in, which is right now people use the word artificial intelligence largely to mean
yes.
LLMs, right? The
Hmm.
large language models. So they kind of conflate the two in the general, populace. What's interesting is if we're going to speak specifically about LLMs, people have many people have the illusion that LLMs think. They're like, that's amazing. I asked this question, like, what should I bring to Aunt Sally's house? Da, da, da. What should my blog post be about? Da, 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 right? And the reality is, LLMs are a glorified version of Google autocomplete. The same way you can be typing an email and Google goes, oh, the next character is probably S because it's a plural, right? And you're like, oh, it is an S, right? That is what LLMs are right now. Is they are a probability engine that says, oh, let me autocomplete that. But they don't just work on a character of a word or a word. They work often on thoughts, right? So yeah, I suspect next Tuesday will be, and then
Hmm.
it goes, well, statistically speaking, 34% of the time people say rainy next, or
Yeah.
so let me try rainy and see if Carlin likes that. And
Yeah.
if she doesn't, then I'll try sunny, And it's just a huge probability cloud sort of
Mm.
autocomplete thing that's happening. But because it does it very well and at scale, it feels like thinking because it's giving you what probably someone else would say to you. So as a leader, when you're thinking about, oh, how much can I automate with LLMs? A lot. It's actually great for a lot of tasks that are rote, not deeply thoughtful.
Hmm.
And, every day in the papers and all the trades, the conversations, everyone's like, AI is going to take all the jobs. And da, da, da. AI is wiping out a certain kind of job. 100% full stop. Yes. But it hasn't actually gotten to reasoning, to deep to creative thought. So hopefully that does allow us as leaders to say, oh, you know what I do need is I don't need someone just to completely fill out this paperwork. Like AI can do this for me, right? LMs can do
Yeah.
this. But when I do want to have that original idea, I I might want to source that from someone who has had a track record of doing this kind of original ideas. I may want to create the conditions precedent where my team feels open to creating those kind of ideas, which does mean one of those conditions is there's no punishment in a brainstorm. There are no bad ideas. Best idea may win, but hey, man, I bring up stupid ideas with my team all the time. I'm like, hey, this could be stupid, but 8 out of 10 times, 4 to 5 times, it is kind of stupid. Maybe the other 2 times it's smart, or maybe one of those 8 things I say, you then say, oh, well, Steven, not that. Because actually I saw, Kraft Heinz did that, but that makes me think of this. Mm-hmm. So mine was just the springboard for you. And if I hadn't said it, you might not have been like, no, but yes. So I think that's an important part of this part of leadership, of like recognizing LLMs should do rote tasks. They're very good at it and they're very cheap, right? But that kind of creative thing still comes from people who create in creative environments and go, let us together come up with a great idea. Back to you, the studio. Sorry, I digress.
I love the digressions. I'm the queen of rabbit trails myself, and that's what makes good conversation, right? Is if we're having a cup of coffee, so this is what makes it good. And
there we go.
Yeah, and you hit on something so I think relevant too, is that I think people are freaking out about AI is going to take everybody's jobs over, but then I can't even get Microsoft Copilot to like actually not have spelling errors when I ask it to summarize a deck for a presentation. So usually when I'm using, versions of AI, I'm like, yeah, I think we're okay for now. Like people need to not panic, right?
I'm so with you. I had the funniest thing. I had to show this to Laura, my wife, last night. I was working on an image for our new website. And what I wanted a very specific view of a task list, which is obviously, endemic to the platform we create because it helps you get things done. I want to create a quick image of a task list. And one of the items on the task list, like have it list these tasks, was broom the backlog. Like go through the task management system and say like, okay, let's just. And it absolutely refused to put the word backlog. I got back hog. And then I said, please change the word back hog to backlog. It turned it then into backlock. For some reason in its training, it was like, Puri, backlog is not a word. So you're trying to trick me. I'm going to tell you what you really want. And it was one of those probability things of like, no, I don't. What you're trained on was not good for what I want. And I eventually changed it to update Jira.
Oh my gosh.
And that worked. And it was fine with update Jira.
So new Jira, Jira, but it didn't know backlog. Yeah.
So when you go to my website and you see that little image of a task list, you're like, see, that's why it says update Jira.
It took me about, I think it was 23 times I counted I was trying to create a graphic using Copilot. Because our company is not comfortable with ChatGPT at the moment. So anyway, we're building AI out, but so we are using Copilot. So it took me 23 times to get a graphic that had just these the three-legged stool. So it's like relevant storytelling, compelling content, amplification, just in my field, it makes sense. So I would like create a graphic, I gave it a theme, and then it would create the graphic and everything was misspelled. It's like, okay, well, there was 2 words that were right. All right, well, fix this word, fix that word. And so fix those words, then the other words got misspelled. I thought I was in like a bad Abbott and Costello kind of thing where I'm like, do I really have to tell you to keep the ones you spelled correctly correct? And then fix the other ones? I'm like, this is maddening. I could have opened up Keynote or PowerPoint and done this myself in like 2 seconds. It's just, yeah, and I know somebody told me that works in tech is like, hey, AI is an infant. We're teaching it how to crawl, walk, run. And I'm like, great. I think I'll be dead by the time Skynet is created and the robots take over our lives. So I'm good. I'm good with the infancy for now anyway. But what I find so fascinating though is our obsession with AI and like what you were saying, just how people are taking it. But yet for some reason you're seeing companies like go away from remote work. And even though I think there was a lot of proof cases during COVID, companies were working for years at home. And plus we're so global now with social media and networking and like, look how we can do this, and being in different states and everything. But yet for some reason, companies are going back to the office and saying, because it's not, we're getting anything done. But I would love to hear your point of view on just remote working. And then did these companies miss the memo that people really do want that more in their lives and that flexibility?
Okay, this is a wonderful conversation. And I do have strong viewpoints on this. So I'm going to express those. People are willing to post in the comments, or welcome to post in the comments. Like, that's insane. Okay. So this is the way I view it, which is different than most people, because I came from film. You know, I was an executive at a couple of studios, and what's not recognized a lot is, yes, to most verticals, the pandemic was a shock to the system. Oh my God, we can't sit under the same fluorescent bulbs 10 hours a day, 5 days a week. How will we operate? We'll kill each other for nearby. Zoom became a verb. Right?
Totally.
Okay. So this happened. Suddenly every, publication is writing about remote work, distributed work, asynchronous teams, in film for 100 years. Every film goes through a remote, a hybrid, an in-person stage, right? When you're developing the film, writers are writing from their homes, from coffee shops, from their writing partner's living room. One of the scripts gets a little, interest. You set up a production office 1 or 2 days a week. You're all in there meeting with, the customer. What are they going to wear? The location scout. Can we shoot this in Montana? There's some great tax breaks there. Let's, and then the rest of the week, the writers are home doing, rewrites because Brad Pitt's agent said he wants to be taller in the movie, like stuff like that. The costumers are at costume houses. The location scout flew off to Hungary, whatever. Then you're on set all day and all night for months at a time, working hard. But then you go back to, picture editors, sound editors working in dark little rooms, and it's kind of, gone, and this remote again. But no one in film would ever say, like, oh, Carlin, we're in the remote period of this film. People are like, what are you talking about?
Right.
It's called development. It's called pre-production or prep. It's called post-production. It's called production, principal photography, things like that. So there are words for it. And because for 100 years, every film has had remote work, has had hybrid work. Leaders know how to lead through it. ICs know how to contribute to it, right? So there are a lot of lessons from that about why it works there. And there's no one debating like, well, writing needs to happen in person. Look, the writers can't come in for a meeting a week. The writers need to sit here where I can stare at them all day long.
Right.
No one
right.
does that.
In a gray cubicle, please.
Right, because it works. The system works, right? So I say this to set up this following idea. It is true now that where the pendulum swung during the pandemic to we can't be together, we must be forced into remote, right? And it's swinging back, and there are some leaders who are like, absolutely, we need to be in the same room, RTO and all stuff, right? I view it more that before the pandemic, leaders had certain colors on their palette. Maybe they had yellows and reds and oranges, right? They could paint sunsets and sunrises and, ducks or whatever. During the pandemic, everyone got blue. It's like, we're going to paint a lot of blue the next 2 years. Post the pandemic, the great leaders are like, oh, I can now paint ducks on water. I can paint suns in blue skies. Like, there is a reason to have blue. There is still a reason to have yellow and orange and red. And, so when you think about this, you say, okay, well, what is behind this fear of, remote work and hybrid work and productivity? And I speak to a lot of leaders, obviously with the Sukha Company, the flow state, app that I run. I speak to a lot of people who have companies, small and mid-sized companies, right? And when you really dig down on the ones that are like, no, we must be RTO, almost always what you find is fear. Fear of, how do I know Carlin's working? I can't see her. And I think that's absolutely valid if the following thing is true, which is you have not hired well. So in story, I mean, you know who Cameron Crowe is, Singles and Almost Famous and all that, right? He wrote this fabulous book interviewing Billy Wilder, who directed Some Like It Hot. And, for those non-cinemaphiles at home, he was an amazing early director. And one of the things Billy Wilder said in this, he said, third act problems are really first act problems. And by that, he meant, hey, you're a filmmaker and you have a rough cut of your movie and you're going to go to Pomona or, out in the valley and screen it for a recruited audience and get their notes to try and make it better before you release, right? When they complain about the third act, oh, I just didn't believe that Carlin would get back to with Steven. Or I didn't believe Carlin could kill the dragon with the bow of destiny. Like, they're going to complain about the third act. But the problem is not there. The problem was sown in the first act because you didn't set up that Carlin was a great archer well. Or you didn't set up that Carlin may be gruff, but deep down, she's a great match for Steven. And we're going to reveal that to you over 90 minutes. So what he's trying to say is the stone is thrown in the first act. And the audience, whether they're professional storytellers or not, they know life. They know when you throw a stone, it has a trajectory. It has to land in a true place. You can't mid-flight change the trajectory of the stone because it feels fake. So they're going to complain where the stone lands, but the problem is you didn't throw it in the right direction, right? So to bring that analogy back to what we're talking about, is when you dig down, you say, okay, well, tell me, what is the thing that makes you so against remote work or hybrid work? Oh, you're basically scared that people aren't working. Carlin's might be at the dry cleaners, or she's napping, or she's playing with her cat. She's on Facebook. Okay, that's valid. But let me ask you this. You as a leader, did you do these two things that are incumbent upon you to do? Did you articulate the mission for your team? We are here to cure cancer. We are here to invent cold fusion. We're here to make great romantic comedies. Did you articulate the values that this is how we treat each other? This is how we will treat our customers. This is how we will treat our competitors. Because if you do those two things well, you will hire people into your company who are aligned with what you do. So if Carlin, you're starting a company about curing cancer, and I come interview there, I'm like, yes, my dad died of lung cancer. I watched it. Tuesday afternoon, if I'm working from home, you're not really wondering if I'm playing with my dog. You're like, Steven is deeply invested in this, man. He's moving the ball downfield somehow because he doesn't want other people to feel the pain he did watching his dad die in a hospital bed. That's good hiring. So if you're hiring people, it's like, hey, I'm a great engineer and I've been at 5 companies in 5 years, great. It's like, you're not deeply invested in the mission of any of these companies. You're just bouncing paycheck to paycheck, trying to get your quote up. I wish you well. Go find the kind of leaders who just want that, because I don't want that. That's not what our company is here for. It's not what my team does. So that, I think, is the core problem with a lot of this, is bad hiring does lead to, well, remote work doesn't work.
Yeah. And what's frustrating about that, like you hit the nail on the head, it should be the output, and it should be, are they performing, regardless of whether they're sitting at home playing with my cat or, somewhere else. That's not what should matter. But it's like we haven't shifted our brains into, the out of sight, out of mind kind of model of things, which always floors me anyway, because even if you're sitting in an office building and you're all in, whether it's cubicles in an open work floor or sitting in offices or whatever, you don't really know where everybody is, even in an office. Someone could be in the bathroom, someone could be out to lunch, somebody could be in a conference room in a meeting. It always has blown my mind that people think it's like, if I see you, that means you're productive. And which is kind of insane when you think about it. And also, if you do have people that you have issues with, sure, everyone's going to have a low performer, right? Something's going to happen somewhere. Again, you might be hiring good people, or you thought you hired somebody and then it just, didn't work, or whatever that is.
Or you inherited someone from the previous team, right? Where you're like, oh God, Carlin, how do we get rid of her?
Right. It's definitely, inheriting has definitely happened to me over the years too. But then why punish the whole team for what one person? Like, shouldn't we be situationally leading that person then? And to me, it's not, if you're going to be a screw up in the office, you're going to be a screw up at home. It doesn't matter. Like, their physical location doesn't matter.
True. To hang a lantern on something you said maybe 30 seconds ago, though, work should be measured by the effect of your actions, not where you did it, not how long it took you. Like if you're on my team and you walk into the staff meeting, you go, guys, I had an idea yesterday. And people hear it and everyone turns and goes, that, like what she just said, we should do like right now. Like that changes the trajectory of our company. I personally don't care if that happened to occur to you while you're walking on the beach yesterday for 15 minutes with your dog. Like, I'm not going to reward you going, well, if you weren't here at 2 a.m. sleeping under your desk when that idea came to you, like, it's just not a meaningful idea. I'm like, more power to you. What are the conditions precedent are that allow you to do that? Like, do that again.
Right.
The effect of your action is what should be measured. You changed how we're going to market this product, or you changed the feature, or you suggest we eliminate a feature that's going to streamline the user experience for our customers. I don't care if it took you 5 minutes. I don't care if you're here or not. because our customers don't care.
No.
Our customers are going to reward the great idea. So that, I really think, is an important point we shouldn't pass by, which is work should be measured by the effect of what you did, not where or when or how you did it.
Yeah. And also, has anybody really ever come up with the most earth-shattering idea sitting in a gray cubicle in an office? It probably is more often. I
Well,
mean, maybe in
that's
the
where the
shower.
TPS report was invented.
Yes. Oh, such a great movie.
An amazing movie.
I
You do
love it.
touch upon something I think is interesting, which is, and this was luckily one of my first work experiences when I was getting out of USC, University of Southern California,
Mm.
and starting to segue into film, which was a left turn for me. It was not what I anticipated doing, become a film executive. My first sort of transition job was at a trailer company that did trailers for Warner Brothers and Buena Vista, Disney essentially, right?
Mhm.
So two guys ran the company who had been doing this for like 20 years, incredibly well respected in business. My job at that time was when we would get rough cuts in, I would assign them to a writer producer. Hey, Carlin, we got this Will Ferrell comedy in from Sony. You did that great job last summer on the Will Ferrell thing. Can you work up a trailer, right? Jeff, one of the principals, came in my office one day. I'm like 20. He's like, 30, 40, whatever. Steve, by the way, he calls me Stevie. For the purpose of the story, he's the only person in my life that ever called me Stevie. He's still a friend, still calls me Stevie. I'm not that young anymore.
That's
So
so
he's like,
funny. I love it.
Stevie, do
Stevie.
you know Bart? I was like, yeah, there's a guy in the vault. There's like a runner in the vault named Bart. Yeah, yeah. You ever get Bart a trailer to write? Jeff, we're talking about the runner that gets coffee and like delivers tapes. Are we talking the same Bart? He's like, yeah, yeah. I have an instinct about him. You know what? You're the boss. You have this huge reputation. Who am I? Right? I'll give him something. So I found like a Warner Brothers B title that had like a month deadline. So if he comes back in a week, he's like, I can't do this. I can give it to a pro who's like gonna bang it up. Jeff comes to my office 2 days later, says, Stevie, how's Bart doing? It's like, Jeff, I gave it to him 2 days ago. He's never written a trailer before. I'm gonna wait until Monday. I'll check in on Monday. He's like, okay, fair. What else do you give him? Jeff, he's never written a trailer before. Like I gave him one movie to work on. What do you expect? And he said one of the most important things I learned in my young life. He said, Stevie, let me tell you something. Creativity is always about the other thing. If you give Bart one movie to work on, he's going to stare at that with little beads of sweat coming down his temples, and he is going to write the most obvious B version of that trailer you have ever imagined. You have to give him something else to work on because it's the other part of your mind that does I wonder what a peanut butter and chocolate taste like together, right? And I can't tell you how many times in the intervening 20 plus years in film and in tech, I've seen him proven correct. And there's a great book on the neuroscience of this called The Net and the Butterfly, written by Olivia Fox and Judah Pollack. That talks about the executive mode and the default mode network. And to be very, very reductive, the default mode network is kind of the baby where it's exploring. It's like the one that goes, cell phone. I wonder what this tastes like, Whereas like the executive mode, like the adult in the room would never do that. The executive mode is like, okay, got to pick up the kids at 4. Slide deck is due in the morning. Oh, my term paper is due. I got to work on that. It's like, and what he was saying, and which is explained more in the book, is when the executive mode network is busy executing action, is when the default mode network is sort of like unsupervised playtime. And it does that weird thing that bubbles up. And have you ever had this happen to you? Have you ever had that weird idea when you were driving or showering or doing the dishes or walking or something else?
Yeah, totally. That's where the weird ideas come from when
That's
you're
why.
doing something right. Yeah.
That's the
100%.
neuroscience behind it. Is your default mode network gets to go, oh, no one's watching. Let me think of cool stuff.
Let me play. Yeah.
Let me play. And it's, again, as a leader or as an IC, if you want to have that, if that's an important part of your team, if your team is just doing accounting paperwork, probably not as applicable. But if you're looking to innovate, how do you create those conditions where people can have the other thing? So they have the default mode network propose the weird, like, hey guys, I know we've never tried this before, but what if, and then someone goes, okay, maybe not that, but this. And then suddenly your team has moved forward as opposed to, well, it's Tuesday. It's the day we do our, Tech Tuesday meeting. Okay, well, I'll sit here with our coffee and stare at each other and read our reports out loud and watch the slide deck presentation. Oh my God, poke my eyes out.
It is Office Space coming to life. There you go.
It's completely Office Space. By the way, nice tchotchke.
I don't like to talk about my flair though.
It's okay. You don't have 37 pieces of flair like Pretty Boy Bobby over there.
I love it. So we love it because it's too true to life.
Spot on. Jennifer Aniston's best role, by the way. I'm sort of lukewarm on her. I'm like, okay, but in that role, I was like, oh my God, I love you. That was amazing.
So good, so good. She was pulling that off so well.
Yeah.
Oh man, no, you really hit on so many things. Like I feel like when you talk about creating the conditions and the environment for that, and the neuroscience behind everything. I know you've got lots of amazing tools and techniques. I was reading them all on your website, and because I kind of, lately I've been reading a lot about this whole idea of the infinite workday. And I do feel like, I know, you got to love the headlines, right? Which actually I got both offended and intrigued by, because it's like with remote work, now we have the infinite workday and people are exhausted and burned out and always on. And of course, I'm like, okay, the people who want people in office buildings went and got a publicist, and this is what they're trying to do. That was my first inclination when I was reading some of these stories. And by the way, technology was doing this long before COVID, long before remote in like the more traditional companies ways, minds. It's like technology is what is putting us in an always on world, if you will. But can you share more about, I was so intrigued by like dopamine management, time boxing, progress track, like all these different tools and techniques, because I do feel like, and maybe I'm speaking for myself and teams, there is this level of exhaustion and burnout, and people are struggling with, I think, setting boundaries, which to me has nothing to do with 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. It's more, I don't think we can compartmentalize our lives, but what do we do? Like, how do we, help that exhaustion? Because that exhaustion, that burnout, that feeling of always on, we're not our best selves. We're not being creative. We're not, we're just trying to get through the day, and that's not thriving. That's just surviving. So,
it is very true. And let's begin with acknowledge this. I think that for most teams, not all leaders believe this, but for most teams, there is a recognition that there are quality of ideas, there's a quality of work that may be more important than quantity, right? Yeah. And it's not to say that there aren't sweatshops where it's like, hey man, you need to crank out 4,000 sweaters today, or I'm going to beat you to death. You know what I mean? Like they're awful working conditions and awful leaders, and we're not talking to them. And I don't think they actually listen to your podcast. So we're talking to, the leaders who are like, how do I create conditions where my people aren't burned out? They are doing great work. They are doing it in a directed way that helps our team move forward and our company move forward and win, right? Yes. So I don't think that anyone who comes to this pod is like, I just want to find ways to grind more out of people. Right. If I could get someone convinced they should be online teams at 11 p.m. and answering like,
they're definitely not. They're definitely not listening.
Yeah, that little checkbox of like, I wish people worked later, or I wish people did better work. I think we know which checkbox people are listening to this podcast, right? Yes. So let's just take that as like table stakes for this place you've created. Mm-hmm. So what are those things that are so challenging today? And I'm going to stand on my soapbox for the next 2 or 3 minutes, because this is something I'm passionate about. Sadly, I've seen firsthand. Laura and I have a bunch of friends who have been involved in this dopamine economy, right? So it's very present for me, because I'm about to have 2 children, as you know, that are going to be in the world that we're creating. We're shaping the world we're handing off to them, and I will be gone and they'll be living in this. So it is my very strong thesis that we all have something great inside us. And the question of this lifetime is, are we going to get it out or not? So if you are an IC or a leader who does contribute, not just a manager, what do you do for yourself that allows you to not die with that thing inside you? Whether that is the great American novel, whether that is a new company idea, whether that is a feature, an app, a food that you create, maybe you create the cronut. I'm just sort of kidding, but not really. right? So what is that thing inside you that,
Mm.
that needs to get out? Or how do you create the conditions for your team to get the great thing inside them out, right? Now, if you believe that, if you do believe that we have something great to do, and it's just a question of do you do it or not, yeah, the road of not ends in a really sad way where it is you or your team, you know, you're 80 years old, you're the guy or girl on the sofa scrolling and double tapping, and you're like, oh yeah, I could have been somebody. I could have ridden that great American Novel. I could have started that company. I had that idea when I was 25. You know, that's a miserable end.
Oh, yeah.
And no one wants to be around you. No one wants to be around the person who's like, oh yeah, I could have been somebody. I had that. So how do we head that off now? Because it is a slippery slope into that. And the reality is that there is a tug of war for your life. And on one side of that rope are the trillion-dollar companies whose business model straight up is steal your life, period, full stop. And they used to obscure that and hide it and not want to talk about it in Congress. And now Mark and Elon and, you know, having these guys, it was in their S1s, it's in their quarterly reports, it's on their shareholder calls. They're like, yeah, we're working really hard to steal 1 second more of everyone's life, and we're trying to find more people who give us that second. And if we could do that this quarter, that'd be really great. You know, it's a billion more seconds of time. And if you were to express it that way to people who are caught in that dopamine addiction of scrolling and double tapping, you said, hey, Carlin, imagine Mark called you up and he said, Carlin, I'd really like your life, and I'm going to sell it to these advertisers and I'll keep the money, but I'm going to give you some dancing cat videos. Is that cool, buddy?
Mm.
Can I have your life?
Wow.
Suddenly it doesn't sound quite as great. But that's what they're doing with a lot of bells and whistles around it, because those companies do have trillions of dollars. So they can hire the best behavioral psychologists, the best UI UX designers, the best engineers to work there with the very clear mission. Can you just try and steal more of people's lives? Can you make that ding of the notification just perfect? A/B test 400 versions of that ding, of the wording in that pop-up. Could you figure out what rounded corner on this button makes it more enticing for people to click? Can you work on the recommender engine to make sure that you know that this is one of my weaknesses? Like, TikTok is fantastic. YouTube also fantastic with me, where they will know I opened a YouTube video to watch like something on how to use a React component, because I'm coding something and I'm like, how does this work? And some, like Jack Harrington, who does Blue Collar Engineer, like he'll have made a video about that. I'm like, oh, let me do that. And right at the end, it goes, hey, do you want to watch a video about the avionics in the A380? And I'm like, oh, I would. Oh, I find that fascinating. Thank you. Before you know it, I've lost half an hour when I just wanted to watch a 3-minute video from Jack Harrington saying, hey, man, here's how that component works, and here are the pitfalls. Watch out for this. And so when you think about that, you have a tug of war where on one side of that rope, you have these companies we talked about. On the other side, it's you alone. Who's going to win? It's not really a fair tug of war, is it?
Mm-mm.
So whether you are that individual contributor on the other side, or whether you are the leader of a whole group of ICs, you got to acknowledge that tug of war is happening. And you have to say, well, then who are my allies? Like in a great movie, the first act, something bad happens, the state of the world changes, the hero has to rise up or heroine has to rise up and be like, well, I'll be the one to carry the ring back to the mortar, thing. And the top of the second act is assemble the allies. Top of the second act is go to find the best friend. Go to, wherever it is, Raiders of the Lost Ark. Go find Marion, even though she hates you, you broke her heart, like go around the Shire or where, in the Lord of the Rings. It's a common thing. Who are the allies that are going to enable me to destroy the ring? They're going to enable me to stop the Nazis. And that is what I've dedicated my life to, is like the people who want to do something with their life and get off that beautiful dopamine train that leads to being that grumpy 80-year-old alone on the sofa. I make tools based around the research of Mihai Csikszentmihalyi. And I don't remember if I heard an episode you did really about deeply on flow states. Have you done one? Can we talk about it for a minute?
Let's talk about it. Yeah. I've talked a
Okay.
little, but not deeply. I would love to hear your
Okay. Yeah.
review. Yeah.
That's what I thought. So I know there's some people listening who are like, Steven, who we are masters of flow. I've been doing flow since I was a baby. There are others who may have a passing, knowledge of it. And let's just set the table so everyone's on equal footing. There was a Hungarian American psychologist, Mihai Csikszentmihalyi. He actually died, I think, 4 years ago, this month or next month. And he had a thesis. He said, high performers in these disparate fields, athletes, inventors, scientists, artists, they go into these high performing states where they do the thing that makes them famous or changes the world. And they talk about it in very similar ways. What is it? So he went off to do this research, like Prometheus. I want to go up, get the fire, bring it down the mountain for the rest of us. At the end of that research, he wrote the seminal book on this called Flow, from whence we get the term flow state. And I love this part. He said, I chose this word flow because after listening to all these people and interviewing them, the most beautiful metaphor I could find was, we're all on the river paddling to move ourselves forward. But if you align your boat with the current, it carries you forward. It magnifies your efforts. You go further, you go faster. And that's what these people have figured out how to do. So he wanted to codify it, say, here are the characteristics of a flow state if you've been in one. And here are the conditions precedent that these high performers, Michael Jordan, Picasso, like all these people whose names are household names, they all seem to have very similar ways of getting into it, similar conditions they create. So that fascinated me. The first time I experienced one, I didn't know it was a term. I'd never heard the term flow state. I was going from Austin, where I live now, back to SF, and I was going to meet with my team the next day. And on the flight, there's like a Alaska nonstop that runs. On the flight, I was like, you know what? I have a couple hours. I'm going to illustrate this idea in Figma for a feature. So when we get there tomorrow, I'll sort of show it to people. And if they, if everyone digs it, here, I'll hand it off and go make this prettier and make it work, right? Got on the flight, took off. The Wi-Fi was out. It was broken. We landed like 15 minutes later. It was like, put down your tray or put up your tray tables or whatever. And I was like, wow, like an engine fell off or there's some, hydraulic problem. Like they're not telling us because they don't want us to be scared, but like something bad happened. We're landing in Dallas. I looked down. Over 2 hours and 40 minutes had gone by since I looked at the clock. We were over the bay. We were in San Francisco. We were landing. Wow. I had no concept if the drink cart had come by. I couldn't tell you the name of the guy sitting in the seat next to me. I hadn't gone to the bathroom, but my designs were done. And I kind of liked them. I was like, this is actually a good version of what I was thinking in my head.
That's amazing.
And it felt really great because I had prepared myself for, we're going to land. I got my roller bag. I'm going to run through the hotel lobby, grab a sandwich, go upstairs to my room and like try and finish the designs before the morning. Instead, I called a buddy of mine. I was like, hey man, I have a free night in SF. You want to go have dinner? And that was remarkable. Later, after doing a bunch of reading over the next, year, 2 years and working on this, it's like, wow, okay, so Mihai wrote this book about this. A ton of smart people have continued that research, the Stephen Kotlers. Now if you do read the top 12 books on how to manage your mind, your productivity, the Cal Newports and the Nears and the Clears, and there's a great commonality between what they write. And I was like, I don't think everyone's going to take the time to go read all these books and do all this stuff, blah, blah. But what I would really want is I just want a website that in the morning when I start work, there's just one play button and it has all the tools like right around the play button. So it has the music I need, the task list, it has the blocker for my phone and my website. It's just all there in like one place rather than all these disparate tools. Because there are great disparate, variety of tools. But I'm like, I don't want to have 5 things to remember every morning. Let me open this, let me open that, let me do something. I'm curious, have you experienced a flow state?
I have not in that. Actually, no, that's not true. I feel like unintentionally I did. And it was once when I was on a cruise ship about 5 years ago. Ooh. And I had an idea for a book, which I've Still not completed, frankly, but
We got to work on that. Okay,
yeah,
got
we
it.
definitely got to work on that. But what's interesting, like you're saying, is the distraction piece. Because I will say the phone, social media, the doom scrolling, it definitely gets me. And it is crazy what you were saying resonates with me so much of, oh, I'm just going to flip through Instagram a little bit here. And then an hour goes by and it's like, oh my gosh, I had the least productive meeting, time ever. But sitting on that cruise ship, I didn't have that. I never get the Wi-Fi on ships intentionally because it's my place to disconnect and read and I opened my computer. I had an idea and I just started pouring out and typing and going and going. And before I knew it, I was there almost all day. I think I did it through lunch. Didn't feel a thing. Had coffee next to me, which I always seem to have coffee next to me,
Mhm.
but felt amazing because I had no distractions. And I was sitting in a coffee shop on a cruise ship, which you'd think would be a constant mode of
Yep.
distraction, but for me, it's actually it worked. And yeah, I when you were telling me about on the plane, I'm like, that's the only time I feel like I have felt that where it's just pouring out of you and nothing else pulling and tugging at you and you can focus. And then hours went by and it didn't even phase me. And I got
Right.
like 40, 50 pages of just flowing out. It was great.
So,
It
as a
was
leader,
good.
wouldn't you want to make that available to your team?
Yes, 100%.
And let me pick up on something you said, which goes back to Mihai and subsequent research on flow. You said coffee shop environment on the ship, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Here's something that I learned when we created the Sukha website. One of the big things that a lot of the writing and research is around is how to create the oral environment, AU oral,
Mm-hmm.
that makes flow more accessible, helps you drop in, keeps you there.
Yeah.
And most of the research shows it takes a minimum of 15 minutes to drop in, usually more like 20 to 30. And if you get interrupted in the middle, like get that Slack message, hey, Carlin, send me that TPS report, whatever, you're like, it takes you
Mhm.
another 15 or 20 ish
Yes.
to get back in, right? So
Yes.
the music is a very important part of this, or your sound environment. So there's research that the sweet spot for most people is music that is 60 to 90 beats per minute, certain key signatures, ambient, non-vocal, rhythmic kind of music. Now, I acknowledge that, in doing this for, 6, 7 years, I've met a lot of people who have very specific tastes. They're outliers who are like, oh, I listen to Tchaikovsky. Oh, I listen to this film soundtrack. I listen to 90s gangster rap, whatever it may be. So we all have friends that, have their thing.
Sure.
But for most people, that's a sweet spot. So I thought, oh, I have a bunch of friends who are film composers
Mm-hmm.
who have time on their hands. Here's some guardrails. Could you write original music in this area? So we have like 1,000 hours of music that are, lo-fi versions of that, upbeat, down tempo, the different playlists, sonic caffeine, ambient atmosphere, things like that, right? So I thought, okay, we got this covered. This is great. There's a buddy who is a sound engineer for LucasArts, does the Star Wars video game stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
His gift to his son for his high school graduation, his son wanted to go to Nepal.
Wow.
So he came back and he said, Steven, I know this kind of sound kind of weird. When we were in Kathmandu one day, we got rained out. Like it was heavy rain. And it was this beautiful, lush rain. We didn't go out. We just sort of like sat there and enjoyed the view of the mountains and the rain and all that. He said, and I had some of my sound equipment there. So I recorded it. Do you want it? 2 hours of rain in Kathmandu. And I thought, you know what? Sure. Okay. It's free.
Right.
Great. Let's try it. So we put up a playlist that is just 2 hours of rain. And we called it Himalayan Dream Rain.
Mm.
It's our third most popular playlist.
Wow.
And I was like, huh,
Huh.
I didn't see that one coming. I'm glad we tried a little experiment because we could always pull it down if people, no one listened, right?
Hmm.
So I started asking in the group chat, I was like, hey, anybody listen to this? Oh, yeah, yeah. Is there anything else you'd want that I haven't thought of? And people talked about, oh, you know what? We have a cottage by a lake in I think Victoria, British Columbia. So there's a beautiful lake there. You should try and get a recording of that. And Tony, my co-founder, he lives up there. So we got a recording of just the birds at this particular lake called Emerald Lake, and we got a stream in Japan, the sound of surf in Cyprus, and wait for it, a coffee shop in Vienna. Austria,
Oh,
where you
cool.
hear like the
Yes,
espresso things
I
and
love it.
the plates. And I'll tell you, it's one of my favorites now. And I realize why. Back when I was a development executive, right? I was not a writer. I can't write to save my life. Let's just acknowledge that. But I had to read a lot because you get incoming writing samples and scripts and books and pitches and so every weekend, I've got like maybe 20 some sort of writing, treatments to full screenplays to read. And on Sunset, right across from the Directors Guild in West Hollywood, there's a coffee bean and tea leaf that's famous for being like a writer's coffee shop.
Oh
It's
yeah,
like 4 blocks from my old condo.
I know the one you're talking about. That's
Right.
funny.
It
Yeah.
used to be next to the Baja Fresh, but now I think
Yeah.
it's something else, right?
That
So
whole area has changed so much over the
it
years. Yeah.
has.
Yeah,
I
it's crazy.
know. Yeah. I used to go to that coffee bean, not because I was a writer, but because when I entered there was kind of an energy in the room. And, you'd look around and there'd be like in the corner, like the old weird guy who's writing, his third studio script of the year. He's got, $1 million quote. And this is
That's
just
so
his
cool.
habit from when he was 25, 30 years old, just writing there. So he still comes, right? Even though
So cool.
he's got a mansion in
Yeah.
the hills, he comes here. But then, you also have like two girls who just got off the bus next to you, writing their first TV pilot. And there was an energy to that room of we're all kind of in this together.
Mm.
And it wasn't like a lot of chatter. It wasn't like people necessarily talking, but everyone's on their MacBooks trying to create something great, trying to create the next
Yeah.
great Friends or, Avengers or whatever. And I found that really inspiring. And I realized when I listened to that playlist, which is not, the research doesn't point to, oh, you need to listen to coffee shops. But for me, it evoked, you're back in that energy and it
Yeah.
helps me work. And I love that. So that's one of the things I learned. Like, in our app, we put together the things that Mihai and others have talked about, saying, you should have your oral environment, you should time box, you should time block, you know, deal with your distractions, all these things. And that was one where I was like, you know what? You learn a lot just by talking to people. So anyway, long speech. Back to you in the studio.
I'm gonna start stealing that catchphrase because that's amazing.
Please,
Yeah.
not mine, but
Back to you, Steven. Yeah. No,
I just every time I catch myself going, "Wow, that was a long speech." I'm like, Steven, shut up. Let
no,
Carmen
it's great.
talk.
No, it's what I'm here for. I'm soaking it all in. And I love that you kind of have to figure out what your own environment is, to your point,
Yeah.
right? For me, I do get inspired in coffee shops for I think similar reasons what you said was
Mhm.
just being around, people who, there's a student on their laptop, or there might be some people, talking quietly in the corner. And I do love coffee and the smell and the sounds and all of that too.
All the
And
senses, right?
yeah, it like all the senses and the coziness of it. And even sometimes when I'm home, it's like flipping on YouTube for one of those static images. They're kind of
Mhm.
cheesy sometimes, but like
Totally with you.
the lo-fi jazz with the ambiance and stuff, it actually does
100%.
help. So it's powerful. And I would love for you to share a little bit more about your app and about your site and everything, because I
Mhm.
feel like this is the kind of stuff that leaders need to recognize because if you're in a corporate world, like many people who are listening are, we don't create this kind of environment. It's a highly distracted world of juggling so many different plates and just hoping they don't fall, but then at the end of the day not always feeling like I accomplished something because I didn't allow myself to focus and to get into those flow states. So I would love for you to share a little
I
bit more
have
about
a,
your work. Yeah.
I appreciate that. And of course, I love talking about my work, but I have a question for you first. What is the distraction at the end of the day? Do you go, oh, if I hadn't done that, if that hadn't digitally pulled me out of what I was doing, I would have finished earlier or done better work? What are the distractions get you? For me, it's TikTok and YouTube.
Yeah. Well, social media for sure.
Mhm.
But I think I'm gonna say it in a lot of long ways. Definitely social media. Um, it's also part of my job. So it's like I think sometimes I rationalize like, well, I have to know what's going on TikTok and Instagram and
Oh,
YouTube.
sure. Yeah, yeah.
But I think even just in the workday itself, it's probably the pings and the emails and the inboxes, and then we're constantly in meetings because I have a team in California, I have a team in Florida. We work with people around the world. It's almost like there's so many different things. So I might be in a meeting where I should be fully present and engaged and collaborating on something. And then you get the pings and the Teams message or the email box. And it takes me immediately out of what the conversation is I'm having at the moment. I think that's one thing during the workday, the constant distraction. But then I think, yes, personally at home, even when I come home, it's the doom scrolling. It's the it's the TikTok, it's Instagram. I
Yep.
got to catch up on everything that's happening everywhere in the world ever. It's like for what?
Right.
And then not necessarily focus on the things like my book and other things that I do want to actually
Completely with you.
accomplish. So anyway, long answer to a good question.
Okay. So then let me tell you about what I offer by starting with problems, problem solution, right?
Mm,
Hero obstacle, right? So one thing that I have, which you and I both articulated, is I found that I have almost a muscle memory of when I encounter something during my workday that's hard. Oh, I'm coding this thing and the build keeps failing. What is wrong? Yeah. I'm wearing this blog post and I know this last paragraph sucks, but I'm not sure how to rewrite it. I'm kind of like,
hmm
I've done it 3 times. My hand will, without even thinking, reach my phone and just be like, let's just take 5 minutes and just, clear my thoughts, and I'll doom scroll,
I,
or I'll,
I totally do that.
open
Yes.
TikTok, right?
Yeah. Totally.
Don't even think about it.
Yeah.
And then it is
Yep.
never 5 minutes. It's
No.
half an hour gone. And that is what turns into that end of the day frustration.
Mm.
So what we did, because the first part of admitting you have a problem starts you on the road, right? So
Absolutely. Yes.
I was like, okay, so what is the easiest way that I could stop my phone problem? And what it is this: in the morning, when I open the web, every morning my habit is open Sukha, hit play. That just starts my day, right? I can see my little task list. As soon as I hit play, what if a QR code popped up? I could shoot with my phone, put it down. And if during that work session I pick up my phone, my smart assistant in my laptop just says to me, Steven, is your phone helping you? And it
Mm.
gives me that 1 second of saying, who do I want to be? Do I want to be that 3 o'clock? I feel great. I did great work. Like, let me do something else with my time. Or do I want to be at 6 o'clock? Laura, after dinner, I need to get back and try and finish things. Who do I want to be?
Oh
And
man,
most of the time,
that
it's all I
hits.
need is just that little thing of just being like, do you want to do this? And we don't lock your phone. If you absolutely want to go down that road of wasting time, you can hit clear and go for it. But you get to choose, as opposed to let Mark or Evan, or Elon choose for you.
I love
Exact same
that.
thing with websites. Like for me, YouTube, I usually watch on my desktop, or Amazon or something. I'm like, oh, I should go buy that thing. Da-da. We did the exact same thing. There's a free Chrome extension, which we encourage you when you onboard to say, hey,
Mhm.
install this. It gives you about 20 of the most common websites, like the Amazons and ESPN and stuff like that are probably not work related. You can
Sure.
add your own at the bottom. You can type in, oh, I'm really distracted by Disney.com.
What?
So you put this in there. And
Yeah.
again, you open one of them. We
Mm.
give you like 5 or 10 seconds in case you're just jumping through tabs and you're trying to find something. So it doesn't like bug you, if you're just like, I'm trying to figure out where is my Google Doc, right? But if you leave it open for like 5 and 10 seconds, you get a little pop up in the center. This goes, it seems Facebook is a distraction. Like, do you want to be in here or not? And you just get to choose, who do I want to be? Do I want to be this, or do I want to be that? You can clear it. You can still spend your time on Amazon if you're like, absolutely right now, I need to order this book for work, whatever. Or you can say, you know what, I could probably do this later.
Mm.
And a
Powerful.
lot of it ties back to this is sort of a little bit of a tangent, but my company has a weird name, Sukha, Sukha, right? A lot of people ask me, like, what is that? Why do you name it that? Da, da, da. And so Laura, I mentioned, I met in yoga. I married the girl on the mat to my left, 10 years ago in Manhattan, we met. And when we went on our honeymoon, I'm very grateful. I'm in a place in my life. We could go to Bali for a week or two and just chill out. And it's a great place when you do yoga to be on the beach and be alone and,
Mm.
yoga, right? So
Amazing.
when we're heading there, we had a working version of this app running. And we had early users and we had a working title. I said to Laura, I've been struggling to find a name that's not descriptive. I don't want to call this like flow state app or like distraction blocker 4. You know what I mean? Like, I want to find something like Amazon's not called like bookstore.
Right.
Nike's a powerful name. It's not like shoe company, But like,
Right.
I'm looking for something that like really sets out who we are, not what we do.
Hmm.
And she said, I wish that for you. You know, maybe in the next 10 days, your unconscious mind bubbles something up and the universe speaks to you, whatever, right? So when we got there, I said, I think what would help seed my imagination, you know, that back of the mind other thing was, do you mind if I do like 3, 5, 10-minute chats with current members and just ask them, what's your favorite thing? And let that just sit there in my mind. She's like, go for it. I'm going to the pool. I'll see you at dinner, my friend. Right. So I'm like, okay. So I put that in the group chat. Who has a minute to chat? 3 people said yes. Great. End of the third one. After asking, you know, what's your favorite feature? Do you love the smart assistant? Do you love the time blocker? Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And the guy whom I still see in the app, he said to me, Steven, you asked the wrong questions.
Hmm.
Okay, I'll take the bait. What was the right question? You should have asked me why I pay you.
Wow.
We charge like 30 cents a day. Like, I don't even collect a paycheck for this. I do it because I want the world to be better. I want more people to do stuff. Like, we pay our server bills with what you pay. But okay, why do you pay me? He said, I find the last year or two, I have 2 kinds of days. At 3 o'clock, I'm playing with my kids. They're 2 and 4. Or at 6 o'clock, I'm down to myself. Like, where the hell did the day go? I'll get up early tomorrow and try and finish today's work before tomorrow's work. And I realized the difference is, did I hit play in your app in the morning? So I pay you because my kids are not going to be 2 and 4 forever.
Wow.
Okay,
Wow.
got it. So I go to dinner with Laura. I was like, I talked to this guy who's more articulate about what I'm doing than I am. I told her what he said, and she's like, that's really good. Like, you should pay him. He should be a copywriter for you, right? So
Incredible.
we were going to bed that night, and Laura, you know, we're brushing our little teeth, and she looked at me. She goes, you know how you wanted the universe to speak to you? It did, through that guy. That guy said to you, it's not about the tool. It's about, he wants to feel in control of his life. And in yoga, we hear all those, like, prana, your life force, and karma and dharma, and all these like terms in Sanskrit. That's sukha. That's the feeling of you're in your lane doing what you're meant to do, and you can do it with ease. She's like,
Wow.
there's your answer. I'm going to bed. And I looked at my phone. The Sukha Company, THESUKHA.co, was available for $14. I bought it. We went to bed. That's how I named my company. And I love it when, you know, people understand deeply like why we're doing this, which is to help you get to that feeling of like, I'm in control of my life. I'm not being controlled by it.
Man, I feel like we should just end there. It was beautiful. No,
There you
I
go.
mean,
Smart guy.
beautiful, brilliant. Yeah, but also to take us full circle, you don't have to have all the good ideas. You just have to recognize a good idea, right?
There you go. Well done. Well played, Carlin. Okay.
Oh my gosh, Stephen, this has been incredible chatting with
It's
you.
super
I'm
fun.
so inspired. And I think something that I consistently do try to talk about in my podcast over time is, yes, we all have a different purpose. We all have that fire in our belly for
Mhm.
something. But then we get pulled into so many different, the noise of the world, you know, encompasses us too
True.
much. And so I love that your company, your app, all of the principles, the tools, techniques is absolutely what we need now more than ever to help us focus in a very
I hope it is
distracted
helpful.
world. So
And thank you to everyone who's still listening at this point. I think we've been over an hour. I hope this has been
I don't even
helpful.
know. I think we were in a flow, so I'm not even sure. So,
We were.
but where can people connect with you and find
Oh,
you, connect with you? I would
I will
love
offer
you to
2
share.
things. Number one, if there's anything I've mentioned that someone wants to know more about, and it doesn't have to relate at all to the company I created. Hey man, who's Cal Newport? Or what did Near do? Or tell me more about Flow. Email me. My email address is very public. It's Steven at thesukha.co. THESUKHA.co. Write me. Hey man, what can I read from Cal Newport? I will send you a link. I reply to all my emails in 24 hours, unless I'm sick or traveling. And I will not write you back the story of my life. Like, I don't have time to write it. You're not interested in reading it. So it'll be a short email of like, here's a great link about Cal Newport and deep work or something, right? Happy to do that for anyone that wants that, or for the team. And if anyone wants to, you know, try using our tool to get it into a flow state, it's free for 7 days. What you need to do is find something that you have to do. Find it a real task. You can't just hit play, listen to the music, leave in a minute. You'll never understand like a flow state. To get into flow state, budget an hour, have a real task you need to do, and it's free. 7 days free, no credit card, no funny business. We're going to charge you if you forget to cancel. Try it. And I'm very proud that the people who do get into a flow state that first week, you can use it 168 hours that week if you want for free, as much as you want. The ones who sign up who are like, oh yeah, try this is amazing. We have 94% month-over-month retention. Because once you have worked that way and you have that 3 o'clock, you're like, why would I do anything else? So, and of course, it's at thesukha.co, thesukha.co. Try it, drop in the group chat, say hi. I'm there every day. I'll be there right after this, as a matter of fact. I'm working my website and that stupid React component I can't get working.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. And yeah, I would love to. I'm gonna try it myself. And anybody listening, if you decide to try out, yeah, let's go say hi, and definitely drop in the comments too. How would it work for you? What your experiences were?
Yeah. Write your book. Budget an hour every day. Write your book. Yes. I would be so proud to go, guess what? Carlin's book is out. Everybody go buy it.
I'm so inspired. You have no idea. I'm like, this is what I needed. I believe that things happen for a reason and our paths cross for a reason, for many reasons, but definitely it's one of them. So amazing. Thank you. Thank you, Steven. Okay. And congrats. I can't wait till November comes around.
I know it's going to be a big year. So
it's going to be a big year. Well, thank you again for
having me.
Us. All right.
Okay. Bye, everyone.